There are 4 types of game modes in Build Battle: Solo, Teams, Guess the Build, and Pro Mode. But today we're going to be focusing specifically on Pro Mode, and even more specifically, the tools in Pro Mode, Pro Tools. And just a disclaimer before I get started, this is a tutorial if you're completely new to Build Battle. But even if you do know what you're doing, maybe this would be a good tutorial just as a refresher to you, or yeah, hopefully you can gain something out of it. Anyway, if you're just starting off, you might be wondering, what are Pro Tools and how can I get them? Pro Tools are the tools in Build Battle Pro Mode to help you build nicer and faster builds. They can help you to achieve way more in 10 minutes and function in a similar way to the plugin World Edit found on most creative servers. So to start off with the Pro Tools, you're going to want to click the nether star found in the last slot in your hotbar and click on the stick in the center of the GUI that says Pro Tools. Here you'll be able to find 6 tools: the region selection tool, fill tool, cut tool, copy tool, paste tool, and the undo tool. Alright, so first off, let's focus on the region selection tool. This tool doesn't do anything on its own, but it's mainly to support the other tools. You can select a region using this tool by left clicking for point A and right clicking for point B. This area that you've selected will be the base that the other tools function off of. If you know anything about World Edit, I'll also be letting you know the equivalent command in World Edit, and for this it's gonna be //pause1 and //pause2, or right clicking and left clicking with the World Edit wand. So the next tool here is gonna be a bucket, and it's the fill tool. It fills the region that you selected with the region selection tool with a block of your choice. So to fill it with your desired block, you just want to right click with the bucket and drag your block into any of the empty spaces in the GUI. If you want to fill it with air, just click the barrier in the corner. The equivalent to the fill tool is //fill. Alright, next up is the cut tool. The cut tool deletes your selection and copies it to the clipboard to be pasted with the paste tool, which we will talk about later. The World Edit equivalent to the cut tool is //cut. The copy tool is very similar to the cut tool, except for one difference: it doesn't delete your selection. So just right click with the copy tool and then use the paste tool to paste it somewhere. The World Edit equivalents to these are, you guessed it, //copy and //paste. So the paste tool basically just pastes whatever is copied to the clipboard by the cut or copy tool. One important but annoying thing about the paste tool is that it always pastes from northeast to southwest. And the last tool, the undo tool, is pretty self-explanatory. It just undoes your previous action. So if you filled a region you didn't mean to fill, then just right click with the undo tool and then it'll get rid of it for you. I'd like to mention that all of these tools are also available in housing if you'd like to practice using them. In both housing and Build Battle, these all also have a 5-second cooldown, which can come to be really annoying in Build Battle games, but hopefully you can get used to it. So now that we got the basics covered, let's get into some strategies that you can use with these Pro Tools. So the first strategy I'm going to be talking about is single-sided terraining. So basically, you're going to make a small section of terrain and copy paste it along the plot. It's important for me to mention that the copy tool always faces the same direction, which can be quite a nuisance if you started in the wrong direction. The solution that's worked for me is just to build coming away from the backdrop picker NPC. This will make sure that your copy selection will always start in the bottom left corner, which is what you want for pasting your things along the plot. Single-sided terraining is mainly useful for islands, mountains, and any terrain you want that just goes along one side of the plot. When copy-pasting terrain, it's important that the start and the end of the section line up. If they don't line up, then you'll end with holes or jagged edges in your terrain. Next up is double-sided terraining. So this one is pretty common. It's a little bit overused, but it's basically like you're making a ravine, and you want to start off by making just the ravine shape only 1 block wide, pasting that terrain like around 5 to 10 blocks long, and then detailing that one, like detail the heck out of it, and then just copy paste that along the plot. It ends up looking pretty repetitive, so it's best if you can finish it early and then go back and detail it all later so it looks less repetitive. It's a very distinct looking style, so a lot of noobs will call you out for it and be like, copy paste, which is what will happen with a lot of these styles because people really aren't informed about it, and that's why I'm making this video. Anyway, next up is a little bit less common of a strategy, which is going to be terraining with the fill tool and then copy pasting that along. So basically, you just want to make like a big cube or kind of rectangle shape and then kind of change up the blocks throughout it and then copy paste it along the general area that you want your terrain to be in, and then just break down the blocks on it to get a nice general shape. This method is a little bit less limiting than the last two methods discussed, but it can also be a lot more difficult to pull off. Anyway, that's probably enough for terraining for now. Let's get on to organics. Pro tools aren't often used for organics because most people just block spam, which is a very good method, but using Pro Tools can also save a lot of time and look nice if you pull it off correctly. So the first method of making organics with Pro Tools is going to be similar to the last strategy discussed with terraining. Basically, just make a big cube or block of one block and then paste it around in the general shape you want and just round that shape down. This one is also very hard to pull off, but if you pull it off well, it can look pretty nice. This strategy can be especially effective for things like tree stems, mushroom stems, and things along that sort. Another thing with organics is copy pasting sections around. For example, sections of leaves on a tree. If you make just like one large leaf or sections of leaves and then just paste it around, it can save a lot of time when building. You can also save time on your organics by copy pasting around limbs like arms and legs. There's not many strategies for organics with Pro Tools, so I'll just leave it at that. And next up is structures. So structures is probably the main thing that people use Pro Tools for, and it can yield some really nice results. So the first type of structures I'm going to be covering is line structures, which is basically just making one line of structures and copy pasting it along the plot. So the first type of structures I'm going to be talking about is vertically lined structures. So basically you can line up your structures two ways. Vertically lined structures is probably more common, so I'll be talking about that first. Using the fill tool, you just make a bunch of sections in a row vertically on the plot. Add details to these sections to make them seem like parts of a building or a house or whatever the theme is, and then just copy paste them along the plot. There's a lot of different measurements you can use for this, but I'd probably say the most common would be using a 5 wide section, copy pasting that 4 times on either side of the plot and leaving a 1 block gap in the middle. Then paste the section in the center of the plot where the gap is, further outwards, and each time you paste the section, change its alignment towards the front or back so that it's not perfectly aligned in the row to add some variation between each section. You can also copy paste your section around the sections on the top and replacing them to add more variation through the plot and make it a little less noticeable that it's copy pasted. Coming up with new measurements for the style can be pretty tricky because the Pro Mode plot is 41 by 41 blocks. It's a little more advanced, but if you're able to complete the first row quickly, you can try making a second row using the same sections in a different order to add more variation as well. Next up is horizontal line structures. These ones are a bit more advanced than vertical line, but still done pretty often. Using the fill tool and a similar method, you're going to make sections, but this time along a horizontal area. After you finish detailing your sections, you can paste them in a row above the area. This tends to look pretty repetitive, so it's better if you paste them in a different order than they are in the second row for more variation. The next category I'm going to call cubic structures. It doesn't have to be a cube, but it's often a cube. And it's basically making this one section and pasting it around the plot, not just in a row, but you can paste it anywhere on the plot because it has all the sides detailed. This is very effective for using all of the plot and all of the area on it, and there's going to be no sides that are empty, making basically a complete build. It's very effective for themes like castle because you can make a pretty nice castle just out of one shape. And with that one shape, you can also copy paste extra details around and on the cubes like roofs to add more variation. Aside from terraining, organics, and structures, there's also some techniques that you can try executing with Pro Tools. These are pretty basic examples, but it's just to show how much you can do. So one is lengthening sections with copy paste. So this works especially nice for detailed roofs. You can just make one like 2 or 3 block wide section of the roof and just copy paste it along to make the roof very long and take up however much space you want it to. Another cool usage of copy paste is to make detailed curved sections with copy paste. So for this, you just want to make one flat section and then copy paste it closer and closer together and 1 block forward each time, and it'll start to look like a curve, but it'll have all the detail that you added in that flat space. And of course, this is just a fraction of the things you can do with Pro Tools. I hope that you guys can even come up with some new methods to try out. Anyway, that's gonna be about it from me today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. See you in my next video.